$41 billion. That is the staggering projected economic impact this single event is going to drop on the United States. And look, we're not just talking about a temporary bump in hot dog sales here. We are talking about a permanent wealth shift that will fundamentally reshape American industries, create definite economic winners and losers, and honestly, alter the financial landscape of host cities forever.
To really grasp the sheer magnitude of this event, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the wealth shift, a different kind of tourist, the transit and cost shock, managing global crowds, the ultimate host city test, and finally, America's global branding.
All right, Section 1, the wealth shift, beyond the pitch.
So while the actual games are going to be played on the grass, the real game, that's happening right now on Wall Street and in urban planning offices all across the country. This wealth shift is actively triggering massive real estate booms in host cities as developers scramble to accommodate the influx. It's driving incredibly heavy investments into AI and tech infrastructure to manage crowds and data at a scale we literally haven't seen before. Wall Street investors are already positioning themselves to capitalize on all these sectors. Plus, on a local level, it generates hundreds of thousands of jobs. It is a massive injection of capital that's going to rewrite the economic future of these communities. But it really begs the question, who exactly is bringing this massive wave of wealth over to our shores?
That brings us to Section 2, a different kind of tourist, the bucket list traveler. Listen, if these host cities just prepare for their standard wealthy international visitors, they're going to miss the mark completely. We're dealing with a massive demographic shift here, and this brilliantly illustrates the contrast. Usually, your typical international tourist visiting the US is high net worth. They stay in luxury hotels, they dine at fine restaurants to really experience America. But the World Cup fan? Totally different story. For them, this is a bucket list trip just to see their team play. They operate a lot more like budget-conscious domestic travelers. They're going to crash in Airbnbs, they'll pack into local sports bars, and they are heavily relying on public transit. They aren't here to casually tour the national parks, they are here for the matches, and they are arriving en masse.
Which leads right into Section 3, the transit and cost shock. Welcome to America.
So, this heavy reliance on budget hospitality and public transit is about to crash headfirst into American economic realities. Just take a look at this data. The US is an incredibly wealthy country, right? But that also makes it an incredibly expensive destination. The US GDP per capita is anywhere from 50 to 80% higher than many visiting European nations. We're talking about countries like France, Germany, and the UK sitting at roughly 2/3 of the US GDP per capita. And for South American nations like Brazil and Argentina, that gap is even wider. Because of all this wealth generation in the US, these incoming fans are going to get hit with a severe sticker shock. Honestly, America is just going to feel incredibly expensive to them.
And the crucial thing to understand is that this sticker shock isn't just happening at the restaurants. It's heavily impacting the basic logistics of just getting around. Look at this headline figure. Train tickets from New York City to the Meadowlands are surging 10 to 12 times their original cost. 10 to 12 times. International tourists, especially from Europe and Asia, are super accustomed to highly efficient, really affordable, large-scale public transportation systems. When they arrive in the US, where, let's be honest, outside of a few major cities like New York, transit coverage and efficiency can be pretty lacking, this immense expense and inconvenience is going to be a massive friction point.
Moving on to Section 4, managing the global crowds, safety, logistics, and hooligans.
It's not just the transit systems that are going to be tested either. Local hospitality and law enforcement have to adapt to an entirely different atmosphere of fandom. We really need to talk about the passion of the global soccer fan. I mean, sure, American fans get loud. We all know Phillies fans and Boston fans have their intense rivalries, but it rarely breaks out into actual violence. International soccer matches, though, they bring a level of intense, tribal passion. Historically, overseas, this level of fandom has actually required extreme measures, like separating fan bases with chain link or chicken wire fences right inside the stadiums. Local sports bars and restaurants need to be acutely aware of this. If you've got opposing groups in the same local spot, mixed with high passion and a lot of alcohol, businesses are going to need serious strategies to keep the atmosphere excited but totally controlled.
And we're already seeing local governments actively stepping up to manage this energy. For example, Pennsylvania's governor is explicitly extending bar hours during the tournament just to accommodate this huge influx of international fans. It's all about giving them an experience closer to what they're used to back home. States are literally bending their own rules and adapting their infrastructure to make sure they capture that economic upside while still managing the massive crowds safely.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 5, the ultimate host city test, the Philadelphia case study.
Okay, we've talked about the macroeconomic shocks and the transit friction.
Let's zoom in on one specific city to see how they're actually preparing to carry the weight of the world. Experts at the Wharton School recently highlighted Philadelphia as kind of a prime example of municipal readiness. Because, despite the challenges we just outlined, major U.S. cities actually have some serious municipal muscle. Philadelphia proved this back in 2017. They handled 1 million people for the Eagles Super Bowl parade without a single glitch. They have the transit readiness, utilizing the SEPTA Broad Street line to efficiently move those massive crowds directly to the stadiums. And crucially, their first responders, police, fire, ambulance services, are deeply experienced with massive, high-energy events. The businesses are ready, and the city is prepared.
But whoa, look at this timeline. This visually stacks the absolute insane gauntlet of summer 2026 events. Philadelphia isn't just hosting the World Cup. Oh no. They're going to roll through the PGA Championship, the 2026 World Cup, the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, and the 250th U.S. anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, all in the exact same window. It is a monumental logistical undertaking that's going to put the city under just immense pressure to perform perfectly on the world stage.
Finally, Section 6, America's Global Branding Moment, the Long-Term Impact.
So, why does pulling off this logistical nightmare actually matter for the country's future? Well, it really comes down to this quote from Professor Kevin Kaiser over at the Wharton School. He notes that the long-term branding impact, really how the world sees America, has the potential to be heavily enhanced if we do this well. You see, this isn't just about the matches. It's a fundamental test of America's global image and our logistical competence. Can we host the world, manage the drastic differences in transit and culture, and still deliver a seamless, joyous experience? Because if we do, the economic and cultural dividends are going to pay out for decades to come.
So, we've seen the staggering projections, the massive shifts in U.S. infrastructure, and the incredible preparation underway. And it all leads us right to this final thought. Will your city capture the $41 billion wealth shift or buckle under the weight of the world? The 2026 World Cup isn't just a tournament, it's the ultimate test of the American economy. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on how your own city is preparing for the absolute wealth shift of the decade.